Welcome to Dialogues of Discovery, a platform where we bring you conversations with visionary thinkers and trailblazers who are shaping the future. If you are curious, passionate, or just figuring it all out, you are in the right place.
Each episode brings you insights, experiences, and advice from the lives and minds of remarkable people, scientists, innovators, and creators, so you can get inspired, explore, and start carving your own path forward. Listen on to uncover more.
Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Miss Rashmi Mohanty, the Chief Financial Officer of SBI Cards. Her career spans over several leading organizations, and she is known for her financial insight, leadership, and ability to navigate complex challenges with clarity and confidence.
But what makes her journey even more remarkable is that, alongside her professional accomplishments, Ms. Mohanty is an ultramarathoner. Her dedication to long distance running speaks to her grit, discipline, and unshakable determination. She is someone whose life and choices inspire you to think bigger and push your own boundaries. We are very excited to listen and dive deeper into her inspiring journey today. Good evening, ma'am. It's an honor to have you here with us today in Dialogues of Discovery. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule and coming and speaking with us today. And we're really keen to hear about your experiences and insights.
Thank you very much for having me over. Look forward to a good discussion with you all this evening.
Yeah, so to just get the conversation started, right? So to all the viewers over here, how do you describe your career? Because you've had an interesting journey, right? From engineering to finance and leading so many major organizations. So can you walk us through the, defining moments of your journey?
Okay. I'd like to split my career into two parts. The first part of my journey has been by default. It wasn't because I made certain choices. In a way, I did, but it wasn't a very planned kind of career path that I had in mind. I just went with the flow. And the second part is where I consciously decided to take on certain roles to build my career. So, how did I become an engineer? It was again by default. In class 11th, I have a very bad drawing. So, and obviously I just could not see myself standing in a bio lab dissecting frogs and cockroaches. So medical was out, and it wasn't something which was my calling. The choice was then in that case to take up mechanical drawing. Fortunately for me, that particular year, the school introduced another course in computers. And I was also able to then, get out of drawing, even though they were all very structured kind of a drawing in mechanical drawing, but get out of it into computers. So I started learning computers in class 11 in school. And then obviously, given my interest in computers, given I loved writing code, I loved the problem solving aspect of it. And remember, at that point in time, we didn't have any of these very fancy programming languages that we have now. In fact, I would say now, nobody has to remember the syntax. When we were learning computers, we had to learn the syntax, and then build our code and do the programming. But it was all basic languages like a BASIC and a COBOL, etc. And then engineering happened because of my interest in computers. I chose computers initially for the first semester. I was in DCE in electronics, but when I got a chance to, and the upgrade happened to a computers course, I picked up computers as well. Final year, everybody is preparing for CAT, and therefore, again, by default, it was the thing to do. I was also very clear that I did not want to go abroad for my master's. I wanted to stay here. And instead of doing a tech or an MSc in my field, I thought CAT seemed like a very attractive, glamorous kind of a option to pursue. And so appeared for CAT, got through to CAT, went to IIM Bangalore. At IIM Bangalore, final year, everybody had this very fancy idea of joining foreign banks. So I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to be doing all my life. That's a career path I want. And therefore applied very selectively to banking and financial services companies, got selected by Deutsche Bank, and then spent the first 7 years of my working life post my post-graduation from IIM Bangalore with Deutsche Bank. So up till that, I think I would say everything happened by default or through nudges from the peers. I'm appearing for CAT. Why don't you also appear for CAT? But it was not that I had designed my journey in giving it a particular thought other than probably taking a call. This is what I don't want to do. So it was all by exclusion. I don't want to do this. So what can I do? Okay, let me pursue this kind of a thing. I don't want to go abroad. I don't want to do masters in science and technology. So what do? Let me appear for CAT. So it was all by exclusion. But after spending about 7 years with Deutsche Bank, and I was in a sales role there, so I had a revenue target. And there again, fortunately for me, I was in the best department in the bank, global markets. It is the most sought after function in any bank. That's a treasury. In layman's term, it's called treasury. And I was doing very well there, but somehow I was just not happy doing what I was doing, the sales role. And then there were certain personal reasons. I got married. I moved to Delhi. The job wanted me to be in Bombay. My husband could not move to Bombay because he was doing very well himself in the role that he was in Delhi. And I decided to quit Deutsche and take up a treasury role with GE Capital. I think from there on is when I would say that I have very consciously chosen what I wanted to do in life. And one, to do things that I enjoy. So treasury is something that I just loved it. It was like, the way I fell in love with computers in my class 11, the same way I fell in love with treasury when I joined GE Capital. And that was the field I wanted to grow in. I wanted to excel. I wanted to do more of that. And consciously, because of that, I took the next roles very consciously in the treasury domain itself. But treasury, after a certain point in time, you reach a saturation. You kind of hit the topmost bracket, and then you kind of struggle in terms of what can be done. And fortunately for me, I got an opportunity, though with a smaller firm, to become the CFO of that firm. And I then took that opportunity, took that challenge. And I'm not a CA, I'm an MBA. So usually you'll find that most CFOs would be chartered accountants with knowledge of accounting standards, accounting policies, etc. I'm not a CA, so I didn't have that qualification and that knowledge. I picked it up all on the job. But these were very conscious decisions I took to make sure that I can break into the CXO league. The treasurer is CXO -1. So I was stuck at that level for a few years, and I had to break out of that league into a next level. And therefore, I then took a call to move out of treasury into the CFO league. And I've been a CFO now for 6 years now. First with Clicks Capital, and then now with SBI Cards. So it's a mix of both, by default and by choice. Initial part more by exclusion, and the second half of my career more by choices that I've made. So even when I was in treasury and I was moving across companies, I made sure that I was moving to an organization, and forget the organization, to a role which would add value to my CV and where I could also contribute in that role. So now when I moved out of GE Capital and I took up the group treasurer role in Religare, it challenged me because GE is a very structured organization. You have your SOPs and your policies and your governance framework all laid out. So when I walked into GE, everything was given to me on a platter. All I had to do was make sure that I'm executing as per the process. I'm executing and doing things what the policy requires me to do. But when I became the group treasurer for Religare, I had to start everything from scratch. There was no treasury in Religare. So it challenged me to think, go back to the basics. Start from the very scratch to build the treasury. Not just build the team, but put the SOPs in place, put the governance framework in place, put the systems in place, put the policies in place, put the reporting hierarchies, etc. in place. So it challenged me to do that. When I joined Vedanta, it was about scale. So far, I'd operated at a very low, not a low scale, it is a big enough scale, but compared to Vedanta, I was managing an asset book of a liability book and a balance sheet of about $1 billion, $2 billion. And Vedanta's liability book itself was about $16 billion. So imagine the jump that I saw. And that is where, again, I took on a challenge that let me give my best to this job. When I moved out of treasury and to take on a CFO role, it was about challenging myself again to say, can I pick up the accounting knowledge, which CAs take 5 years, and really credit to all of them to actually put in the hard work. But can I Can I have a conversation, an intelligent conversation with a CA and understand what he or she is saying and telling me? So if I'm having a conversation with my auditor about the books, about the statutory audit that they've closed, will I understand that? And that was a challenge for me again. Then moving from Clicks to SBI Cards, I was moving out of a private company into a listed company. The governance rules, the entire compliance structure is very different. So I just made sure that every job that I'm taking, it's a step up. It's not a step down, and it's not even lateral in whatever manner, whether it was by scale, whether it was by the role, whether it was by the company, the sector. So when I joined Vedanta, I'd been a BFSI person, a financial services person for all along. Vedanta is into mining. I'd never done mining before, but I took on that challenge along with the scale challenge. So, and I think that is how you will grow. If you keep chasing designations that I am an AVP here and I want to quit this company and I want to join this particular company because they're going to give me a vice president position without any enhancement in your role, you will never grow. You will never grow. You will reach a certain point, because when the time comes for people to assess you for eventually for very senior positions, they will always look at what is it that you've done. Now, all that you have in your CV is to show, oh, you know what, I became a senior manager, but from a manager in 2 years, and I was again, I changed jobs and I became a AVP, and then I again changed jobs and became a VP. That isn't how people are going to look at you. People are going to look at your CV and say, what is the work that you've done? How capable are you? What is the skill set that you're bringing? And that's an advice I give to everybody, including my kids as well, that don't chase designations and money. It follows. It's an outcome of what you are doing. Because if you're doing well and if you're performing well, why will the organization not want to retain you, not want to promote you, not want to help you grow further in whatever manner? So, long answer, but that's how my career has been. In a nutshell, how I have grown from, choosing computers in class 12 to now a CFO of a listed organization.
That's really inspiring how you went from engineering to Deutsche Bank and you worked in multiple treasuries as well. And that really requires a lot of adaptability. So, what has helped you really stay adaptable as you moved across all these transitions?
Listen. I think the one most important quality that all of us should have is listen. So one, of course, as I said, I've been conscious about what kind of jobs I want to take. But once I'm in the job, see, it's very easy to say, I want to do this. Okay. But once you land up in that job, you also have to perform. Because if you don't perform, then there is no way you can grow further. You're going to hit that ceiling, right? So how do you perform? And if it's suppose a new sector or a new different kind of a role, you need to listen into what people have to say around you in your new role. The new role could be in the same organization. The new role could be, so for example, when I joined GE Capital, I was part of the Treasury team. I wasn't leading the team. And then in about 6 months' time, I was leading the team as well. Now, because I spent the first 6 months listening to my peers, who later became my they became my direct reports, it helped me understand what is it that I need to do to excel in my role. Okay, so I think that's very important. 2, you'll have to stretch. Be ready to take on that stretch to be able to deliver what is expected of you. Okay. And 3, I think you have to be on top of what's happening in the industry. So, for example, as a treasurer, my job is to raise money. Now, if I'm not aware of what's happening in the market, who is borrowing at what rate? I may borrow at 9% and think, oh, I've done a great job borrowing at 9%, whereas I have a peer who actually has borrowed at 8.75. And therefore, if I'm not aware of where the rates are, I will not borrow at the best possible rate that should be available to me. Okay? So being aware of where the market is, being aware of where the industry is, that's very important. So I think maybe what I'm trying to say is networking, both internally and externally, is very important for you to be able to understand the industry you are in and also understand the role that you are performing. and therefore be able to deliver on that goal as well. So, clued on to what's happening in the industry, and how do you do that? Networking. You need to build those rapport and you need to build those relationships with your peers, with your juniors, with your seniors, with people outside the company as well, to be able to then pick up all that they have to offer you. And then you should also be able to filter out the noise, right? They're going to tell you a lot of things, but you should be able to also filter out the noise and say, ये काम का नहीं है, इसको छोड़ देते हैं. Or prioritize and say, okay, this is important for me. I need to work on this right now. This is a very critical piece of information that I've received. And I'm going to look at other things about 3 months from now when I have a little bit more time to work on those things. I think that is very important.
I think you're completely right that, being able to listen and being able to network with people is one of the most important things to building that connections with the people in your, office space or anywhere for that matter. It's not just in an organization that you do
Absolutely.
that. So
You
I
can
think
skip
that's
reading Economic Times, but if you have a few calls that you can make in the day to get the information, you'll pick up a lot more than what Economic Times tell you.
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So I think besides your professional life, like in finance, you're also like a very accomplished runner, long distance runner, right?
Yeah.
So how many marathons have you run till date, and what's been the most like grueling one?
I don't keep a count of my marathons and half marathons. I've run many. I've been running for 15 years. So I don't have a track of how many marathons and half marathons I've run. But I'm also an ultra marathon. An ultra marathon is a run which is a distance of more than 42 kilometers. So 21 is half, 42 is marathon, and anything above a 42, starting on 50 actually. Anything which starts from a 50 kilometer is an ultra marathon. And I've done a lot of ultra marathons as well. Okay. So my grueling, and therefore, given that it's a long distance and you're running more than 50 kilometers, obviously my story of the most grueling run has to come from an ultra marathon only. Two runs that I would think would be my most grueling run would be, I did one run in Hong Kong. This was in the year 2018, 19, I think 18, yeah. And this was in the trails, and it's a very hilly reserve area in Hong Kong called the MacLehose Reserve. And we had to climb up the hills, down the hills, run on the beach, etc., etc. It was a 100-kilometer run. It took me almost like 26 hours to complete that run. And but fortunately, because Hong Kong has a very nice weather, so weather-wise it wasn't that bad. It's just that I still remember I'd finished 80 kilometers and I had one last hill to go up to, and it had stairs in it. It wasn't like a soft mud; it was stairs in it. And I would climb 5 stairs, stop. I would climb another 5 stairs, stop, climb another 5. And in the meanwhile, there were people who were just passing me by, climbing up the stairs and going up because they must have practiced on those stairs or would be more ready for it. And I remember telling myself, oh my God, I've done 80 and, am I going to quit now at 80, just 20 kilometers more left? And there was enough time to complete the race. And I kept telling myself, let me reach the top. Let me reach the top. Once I reached the top, I said, let me reach the bottom. Let me reach the bottom. And now let me just cover the next 5 kilometers and then I'll take a call. Let me cover the next 5. So I think the last 20 kilometers of that run were the most grueling. My next most grueling run was what I did in 2024 in December. I did 161 kilometers in Jaisalmer. And so in 2021, 2021, in 2021, I'd attempted the same race, the 160, but I had to give up at 125 because I had a bad stomach and wasn't feeling well. And this time in December last year, when I was attempting that run, I was feeling fine, but psychologically, because you've quit the race once, as I was nearing the 120 kilometer mark, things start to go wrong in your head. Oh my God, you know what? Last time I quit at 125. Am I feeling okay? And you're absolutely fine, but your mind starts to play tricks on you, right? And then I still remember at the 130 kilometer mark, I gave myself a big pat on the back and I gave a shout of joy saying, okay, I've crossed the 125, which was my mental hurdle, mental block that I had. And the last 30, but were the most difficult 30 that I've run. The 20 of that Hong Kong race and the 30 here, brutal. I had to just, it was like, let me just, reach the next 5 kilometers, let me reach that tree, and then I'll think about what I'm going to do. And then I would reach the tree or reach the next milestone, and I would say, okay, the next milestone, we'll see what happens. But I think these two have been my most grueling runs.
It's wonderful how you managed to run such long distances. And the fact that you said that, you need to have a very positive outlook and accept challenges with, like with a very positive mindset, it's wonderful. And not only in your like athletic life, but also in your career. So, how do you find time to manage your career and your family life with running and all your other personal hobbies? And how do you really find time to do all of that?
I believe, Sujana, that anybody who puts their mind to what they want to do, they can do it. Okay, you have to just prioritize. So 15 years back, when I started running, people would be very young and would not even know. We didn't have any OTT platforms. All we had was the Star Pluses and the Sony TVs of the world, and there used to be serials that used to come every night, and the topic of discussion every morning at work used to be those serials. But because I had to do my morning runs, I had to sleep early, which means I started skipping those serials. I started skipping going out for social engagements. So if you had friends who would call you out on a Saturday night, I would start telling them, no, I can't come because I have a long run in the morning on Sunday. But that's because I wanted to do that. So if you really put your heart to something and you really want to accomplish something, you will find a way. You will find a way to get that thing done. Okay. So it's all about prioritizing what is important for you. You've seen, I may not be the only example, but if you just look around yourself, you'll find people who've had a very unhealthy lifestyle. And suddenly they'll, get their tests done and they'll see the test reports. And there's a switch that just goes on and say, oh, I need to take care of my health. And that's when they start prioritizing their health. And that becomes their big thing in life. And they will stop thinking about other things. So if they have to get up early in the morning to go for a walk or go to the gym or go do yoga, they will find that time. They will go look for that healthy alternative to what they are eating, which has been unhealthy. Right? If you want to pursue a particular degree or a program, you will find that will to be, and you'll find that way and that means to how to pursue that program, how to get to that, that course or whatever you want to do. So I think in my mind, we have 24 hours, and that's a lot of time in a day. And if you prioritize well, you actually can do whatever you want to do. Sorry, Nikhil, I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, can hear you now. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying that you've hit the bullseye when you say, right, we can achieve anything we set our mind to because it's all in our mind sometimes. And when we set
Absolutely.
our mind, I think we can just accomplish anything. So my question would be, how has fitness, having this discipline in your life, what role has this played and how has this like benefited you?
Huge, huge. Today when people ask me to describe myself, or if they ask me a question, tell us about yourself, my opening remark on that is that I'm a long distance runner. And by the way, I'm also a practicing Buddhist. So I think two together have really changed the way I look at things today and my personality as well. Long distance running especially has made me a lot more resilient. And the one thing or two things I would say, and there are many lessons. If you just, have people talk about long distance running, they're going to tell you a lot of things that, that they have picked up, or how they've changed their personality or their outlook on how to live life, etc. But there are two things that I really kind of have picked up, and I also apply that to life as well. Is number one is show up, and that is so critical and important. You will want to do something. You may have a dream that you want to pursue this course. You may have a dream, or you may want to start your fitness activity, and you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and go for a walk or a yoga or a gym, but you never show up. Okay. So I think if you can show up, that's more than half the battle won. And which is why when people ask me, how do I start running? And I say, don't start running, start with a walk. But more importantly, get up in the morning and show up. That is very important. Okay. Even if you walk for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, if you run for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but the main thing is just show up. Show up on the track. Show up for your family. And that show up everything. Show up for your family. Show up for your colleagues. Show up for your peers. Show up for your friends. It's very important, because that's the only way for you to be able to show your commitment towards people and the task that you have to do. And that's the one very important thing. So there are many days when I don't want to run. There are many days when I want to laze around in the bed. Why do I have to get up at 5 in the morning and lace up my shoes? And nowadays it gets dark. It's still dark till about 6 o'clock, but be out there running. Because I know that if I don't show up, I will never get to what I want to do. I think the second thing that the long distance running has taught me is the fact of never giving up, of being resilient. You will find a way to talk yourself through the challenges that you're facing. And that's something which I've learned. And that happens through a mix of steps. It happens through by the patience that you get from long distance running. It happens because of the fact that you have a certain win before that, and that gives you confidence. मैंने ये पहले किया हुआ है, मैं दोबारा भी कर सकती हूँ. मेरे पास ये पहले challenge लाइफ में आया था, मैं दोबारा भी ये challenge जब आएगा, I'll be able to face that challenge all over again. So it comes through a lot of different things, but it's something which has taught me to never give up and to be resilient, whatever be the circumstances.
Yeah, and that's a really nice thing about how you have these values about showing up to anything, any task that you undertake or any dream that you have. The fact that you actually work towards fulfilling it is the real secret to like how you make them come true. Yeah, so that's a really good start to the fact that to the new year 2026, and it's often about like reflection and renewal. So what's like one lesson that you could give us so that we can some lesson which we can implement in 2026?
So I would only think that the only lesson that I can tell you is that pick up a goal for yourself. And that goal could be anything. It could be an academic goal. For example, I want to do a master's next year. I'm 53 and my son was right here as I was filling up my application form, and he's saying, why do you need to do that? You are like, you're going to retire very soon. So why do you want to do a master's? And, but it's something that I want to learn. So it's a goal that I've picked up for myself. So pick a goal for yourself and just make sure that you show up in all possible manners to achieve that goal. It could be, as I said, a goal in academics. It could be a goal in fitness. It could be a goal in, I don't know, poetry. I want to start writing poems. I want to go perform on the stage. It could be anything. But something that makes you happy and something that will make you complete. I don't know if you get the idea when I'm saying complete, but makes you feel something that is going to make you feel complete is also going to give you happiness, right? So find that purpose for yourself next year. Find what makes you happy. Find that purpose in life. What are you here for? What do you want to do? And the other thing that I tell people is also very important. I tell people that today, when people ask me, as I said earlier, tell us about yourself, I tell people I have things to talk about with others which are not related to my family, which are not related to where I work, which are not related to my designation. There are people who don't know me as a CFO of SBI Cards. They know me as a long distance runner. Because I have an identity which is outside my workplace, outside of my family. I'm not just the wife of so and so, or the mother of so and so, or the daughter of so and so. There's an identity that I've created for myself. And that when you create that identity for yourself, it could be anything, the kind of confidence that gives you is something which is beyond anything, So I always tell people, try and carve an identity for yourself, which is not relative to something. It is like, if you are a daughter to someone, it's a relation. If you are the CFO of a company, it's a relation to that organization. So try and carve an identity for yourself, which is not relative to something else. It is you, independent of, tomorrow, if I don't have a job, tomorrow, God forbid, if I were to take out the family scene out of it, I'm still a long distance runner. And that's my identity. So there is something that I've created for myself. Right? So create that identity for yourself.
I think I absolutely agree with what you said because, even at our school, we focus on finding something we really feel joy and purpose in doing. And I think that's what we all should be finding and building and carving our own path, right? It's not a conveyor belt that we need to follow. It's carving our own path that's important.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right when you say that. So if you could give one message to, the young people coming into 2026, especially those who want to make a career in the world of finance, but are not sure how to. So what would that message be and how would you go about following up on that?
See, first of all, finance actually has a lot of career paths. There is a career path that you can build for yourself if you get a CA qualification. There's a career path that you can build for yourself if you get some certifications. So, for example, like a certification for wealth management or a certification as a risk management professional, a certification or as an actuarial or as an insurance agent. There is a career path that you can build for yourself if you're an MBA, if you have an MBA degree and you kind of try and want to build a career for yourself in the banking domain or any other investment banking, etc., or consulting, etc. So finance has a lot of career paths. I picked up one career path for myself, but there are colleagues of mine, there are batchmates of mine who in the field of finance have created another path for themselves. So, for example, somebody has gone into private equity. Somebody has gone into consulting. Somebody is in the investment banking space. I think the one big advice that I'll have for them, for everyone, is that you need to figure out what is, and before I get to that, every career path has a certain skill set that is required. So, for example, if I am in Treasury or I'm in FP&A, I need to be very strong in numbers, in Excel. I need to be in Treasury aware of the various interlinkages between the various markets that are there. So the interlinkage between a forex market to a stock market to a debt market to a derivative, etc. I need to be able to understand the interlinkages. So every career path has a separate or a very special skill set that is required. If you're into wealth management, you need to have an understanding of all investment products. You need to have a skill of being able to deal with people, to be able to relate with people as a relationship manager, network with people. So you need to first understand what is it that, based on your skill set, what is it that you can do and what will make you happy. Okay? That's the first and starting point. And the second point will be that if that is the path that you want to pursue, what does it require for you to be able to get to that? All right. So I think that is the two things. In fact, now, while people do look at degrees, etc., there are a lot of certifications available for people, for students to be able to get themselves certified. There are a lot of online courses that are available. There are a lot of, in our time, I still remember if you had, as a Bachelor of Engineering student, I had a mandatory 2-month or 3-month internship at the end of the second year or the third year, I've forgotten. But if you were a non-engineering student, you didn't really have a option or a place to do internships or training, as they would call it, right? But nowadays, people can get internships. People can actually apply for internships, get some training done, get some certifications done. So there are a lot of ways in which you can build your skill set. But more than that, what is required is for you to be able to understand that what you want to do is something that you can do. Now, if you can't handle Excel, if you get bored looking at numbers and you want to go into financial planning and analysis, nahi chalega. So that matching of skill set with your own, being able to first assess your own skill set, what the job requires. Can you level up? If suppose there is some kind of a mismatch, can you level up? What is it that is required to be able to level up? All of that is very important to be done if you really want to build a career in the stream that you want to. And the second thing I tell people, irrespective of whether you want to build a career in finance or mathematics or marketing or anywhere, is that in today's world where the attention span of people is going down, you need to be able to tell a story. I'm in finance. I've got a team of people who sometimes bring these very 40-page presentations with just numbers on it. And I tell them, I said, look, I can't understand what you're trying to tell me. You just put numbers in there. No, ma'am, the numbers mean is that this number is going up because I said, so where is it on the presentation? You can't just give me numbers. You have to tell me the story. You have to tell me what happened and what can happen. So that whole skill of being able to translate numbers into a story so that you can get the audience's attention. And that audience could be anybody. The audience could be your CEO, your CFO, your peers, your marketing head. He's come to you for a budget and you have to tell him this number, this budget that you're asking for from me is not something that makes sense for the organization. Now, if you just throw numbers at him and formulas at him, usko samajh nahi aayega. But if you start telling the story, hey, look, if this is what you're asking, but this is what happens, and this is what eventually it will result in, then you understand all. So I think storytelling, business storytelling is a skill that I think is not just required, it's mandatory in today's world.
I mean, it's very amazing how you've been in this career for so long, and I think your message is very clear, right? Like, know your things very well and be able to tell the story in a captivating manner. I think those are the two major things that you said, and I absolutely agree with you because, even at different spaces, you can't just give boring numbers. No one wants to listen to any of that
People
anymore.
will just lose interest.
Yeah. Yeah. So to end this, interview, my last question would be, what would be your dream run, right? Not just like a track run, but also in your office, your career, and also in your personal life, like at home.
Look, on track, I think I had a few milestones that I wanted to achieve. One of them was to do 160 kilometers. It's basically called a 100-miler. So that I've done. I haven't really put another goal for myself on the running scene, other than the fact that I should just show up every day. Every day means show up for training and show up for some of the key events, but continue to run and continue to have that healthy and fit body to be able to run. So there isn't anything big that's there. On the work front, I think I still have another few years to give back to the corporate world. I don't know, maybe change tracks. I would like to get out of finance into something more on operations, marketing, HR. I don't know. I think I would like to experiment. I would like to continue to experiment in my career and keep doing things that I haven't done before and keep challenging myself. I still have to figure out what's the next one, but that's what I would like to do.
Yeah, ma'am, that's really nice how you also have goals for your professional career and for your personal, happiness. And your message to all of us is really nice, and it really gives a good inspiration for us to kickstart the new year. And thank you very much for giving your time to us today. And
thank you very much for inviting me over. I hope this talk is helpful to the students who want to watch it. And I wish all of you a very good luck in your studies and your career.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of ideas, inspiration, and innovation.
We hope this conversation sparked curiosity and reminded you that behind every great discovery is a human story of passion, purpose, and persistence.
Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep learning because the future is being built by the questions you ask today.
This is Dialogues of Discovery signing off.